Now is Doug Ford, the premier of Canada's most populous territory, Ontario. And Premier Ford, as we mentioned, President Trump is now saying he is enacting a 50% tariff on steel and aluminum from Canada, which will go into effect tomorrow in response to your actions. What's your reaction?
Well, Anna, first of all, thank you for having me on. I start every interview with saying we love Americans. I love Americans, spent 20 years of my life there. And I know Canadians love Americans and vice versa. In saying that, we will not back down. We will be relentless. I apologize to the American people that President Trump decided to have an unprovoked attack on our country, on families, on jobs, and it's unacceptable. Let's work together. Let's get to the table if he has issues, and let's sort this out. You see the market tumbling. Consumer confidence is down. And if he continues on with this, assembly plants in Michigan will shut down and around the country, whoever makes autos, and as well as businesses. They're going to hurt. And these pensions, when the market goes down, it's going to affect people's pensions. So I'm not too sure why he continues to attack his closest friends and allies. But we need the American people to speak up. We need those CEOs to actually get a backbone and stand in front of them and tell them this is going to be a disaster. It's mass chaos right now. That's what we need.
Well, he'll have a chance to hear from those CEOs today, as we just mentioned. If you're talking de-escalation at this point, what would it take for you to remove that surcharge on the electricity coming into the U.S. from Canada?
Well, doubling the tariff on aluminum, that the U.S. only can manufacture 16% aluminum that they need. The balance, for the most part, comes from Quebec, over 65%. It's going to hurt your manufacturing. You need the aluminum. You need our high-grade nickel. And I want to send more high-grade nickel. You need our electricity. You need the 4.3 million barrels of oil that gets shipped down. I want to make sure we build an AMCAN fortress, the two greatest countries in the world. Fighting like this does not make sense. But I will respond appropriately on the electricity. Stay tuned.
So what does that look like? What are the potential responses?
Well, we'll see. I'll talk to the team, and we'll make an appropriate response to President Trump. Again, I stress, this is not the American people. Canadians know it. And if we go into a recession, it's self-made by one person. It's called President Trump's recession, which shouldn't be this way. We should be booming, both countries right now.
Have you and your team talked with President Trump or members of the White House since the beginning of all of the tariff back and forth, specifically since you had implemented this 25% surcharge on electricity coming into New York, Minnesota, and Michigan?
I've talked to the three governors. I've also talked to Secretary Lutnick, and Secretary Lutnick and President Trump. You like the guy, you don't like him, they understand. They're business people. And for this to be unrolling and putting the whole country and Canada into a potential recession over what? He should be focusing on China. He should not be focusing on his closest neighbor and ally.
If you could talk to President Trump right now, what would you say?
Stop the chaos. It's hurting American families. It's hurting Canadian families. There's uncertainty, and the markets dislike uncertainty. So do business, so do investors, so do people. They want to know that they're going to have a job, and we're going to have a booming economy. He's done the total opposite. He ran on a mandate of creating jobs, lowering inflation, and it's backfired on him. And he has to step up and change course. Inflation is happening right across the country, and the unpredictability that he's put to the markets are speaking. People will be speaking, and businesses will be speaking as well.
President Trump has cited fentanyl crossing the border as a big reason for the tariffs. Of course, he's also repeatedly called for Canada to become America's 51st state. What's your sense of what this is really all about? Why do you think President Trump is doing this?
Well, he believes there's an unfair trade deal that he created. I remember his words, the greatest deal ever. I guess it's not the greatest deal to him anymore, but let's resolve it. Let's sit down across the table and let's work this out, because all it's going to do is hurt American families. It's going to hurt Canadian families. And it's not just American and Canadian. It's going to affect the whole world. Well, China is ramping up for the last 10 years, as we've all been sleeping, they're taking over the critical mineral sector in the entire world. But there's one area that has more critical minerals than anywhere in the world. That's Ontario. And I want to make sure it goes to our closest friends and allies and protect America and Canada.
You guys are going through a transition in leadership as well. You're about to have a new prime minister, Mark Carney. Yes. Have you spoken to him since he won? And where do you expect him to take this fight?
Well, I spoke to him yesterday. He's a very bright individual. He understands finances like no other person. And we need to sit down, which we will tomorrow. We're going to have breakfast tomorrow morning, and we'll have a strong strategy. He understands that it's not the American people. It's one person, and that's President Trump. Even the Republicans I speak to behind closed doors, governors, senators, and congresswomen and men, every one of them, I've talked to a tremendous amount of them, said they totally disagree with this approach. Why attack your number one customer in the world? We buy more goods off the U.S. than any country in the entire world. We want to continue buying more goods. And our supply chains are so integrated. I always say, Anna, that you cannot unscramble an egg that's been around since the 1960s in the auto pack. You have to make a larger omelet. And there's an opportunity to bring companies from all over the world into the United States, into Canada, and produce more goods.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you joining us.
Anna, thank you so much. God bless America and God bless Canada. We'll get through this together. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, talks today between the U.S. and Ukraine over ending the war with Russia. The conditions the Trump administration